I wrote this book because I've always enjoyed novellas, especially from writers like Margaret Atwood or Stephen Millhauser, authors who could create a kind of surreal narrative succinctly. My first story is called The Walkthrough. It's set in a small Midwestern town, much like the one I grew up in. It's set at the opening of a pandemic. It's in a town outside Chicago. The main character, like my father, is a mall manager. He speaks in the present tense in a dramatic monologue. The story is set in Palmyra Mall, and it's a walkthrough, a process where one employee hands off his position of authority to another. But as we walk through this derelict mall, we learn about the golden years of commerce as well as the strange, dark years of disappearances. Children kidnapped and murdered at the mall. Murders that helped create the mall's decline. We also see an artist painting revealing murals, a power struggle to lead the mall. There's also a rising menace as we walk through Palmyra, from the office tower all the way down into the underground, where we learn about the town and the mall's past. The second novella is In Storage. It's a story set in California. One character, Janice Leaks, has just lost her mother, but she's also discovered that she's inherited a storage unit, a unit brimming with papers and postcards and photographs of a past she's never known. Her mother's hid it from her. This novella, too, is at the start of a pandemic, and she happens across a generous, helpful scholar named BM, someone who can help her in her grief, go through this storage unit and write to her about her own past, a past she never knew. But as we slowly get through this novella In Storage, we read the stories and tales of Mrs. Leake's past, but we slowly discover that BM, this nice, generous writer, has a past that's inextricably bound to hers. And maybe sometimes the ghosts we don't know from our past can still come back to haunt us. First, I finally hitchhiked up to Owens Valley. I had no car at the time. I'd intended to use the zoo as a place to preserve any species of fish I'd found, but my calls to it were unanswered. When I arrived, the old zookeeper had abandoned all his animal cages, everything, and simply left as if in an act of terrible vengeance. Outside, the skulls of sheep sat in the dust with their elegant comma-like horns, fluting the wind in a sad whistle. The aviary fluttered with the faded feathers of harrier and shrike corpses, flat in nets, their wings reaching for a current they'd never catch. Or there was this fried grassland below as well, with only the leathery hides of tule elk stripped by carrion birds. Around me on the dusty borders of the remaining water were the bones of so many pupfish. A few lay glistening and freshly exposed, their blind eyes staring at the sun that would soon consume them. The Paradise Motel is a story of different voices. Each chapter is narrated by a different person living in a Central Florida motel at the opening of a pandemic. There are people there for different reasons. This Paradise Motel has people plotting to restore the life they've lost, people plotting for status or just to gain their footing. A sinister figure arrives as the heat is boiling on a Florida summer day. And with his arrival comes a showdown about who's going to be in charge at the Paradise Motel. The naked man stood beside the motel's pool, 20 yards away from me. He watched the burning house across the lake. The orange flicker over the water ignited the features of his staring face. Light glistened over his sweaty torso, this odd figure that had done so much to transform the Paradise Motel. The boy opened the cage-like gate of the pool in front of the naked man. The boy began sprinkling packet after packet of salt into the swimming pool. He pulled himself down to look into the water, as if he were looking for some reaction from his reflection, as if blue might glow out of this green sewer. Sirens called, but the boy seemed only interested in the dirty pool. The boy did look up at the distant fire. The naked man approached him. His minions crowded the parking lot behind him. Several onlookers from the odd safety of Paradise's balconies were pointing and jumping, shocked by the untamed fire threatening to spread to the neighborhood homes. So I'm Brett Warnke. I just talked to you about the walkthrough, In Storage, and the Paradise Motel. Thank you for watching. I look forward to hearing what you think of my work.